Joe Rogan speaks on Khabib vs. Oliveira. After Charles Oliveira's most recent fight against Dustin Poirier, people are starting to wonder if there's anyone out there that will actually be able to beat Oliveira. Some predict Justin Gaethje will be the one to take Oliveira's belt. Although Gaethje does sound like a good competitor, it seems Joe Rogan thinks differently about this matchup. While conversating with a friend of his on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, Joe said a few things that has people shocked about Charles Oliveira's next fight. Thank you for stopping by. Today we'll be talking about who Charles Oliveira will be fighting next to defend his world champion title. Remember to leave a like, subscribe, and comment keyword Oliveira to enter our brand new iPhone 13 giveaway. Joe Rogan was in chats about Charles Oliveira's next fight against Dustin Poirier. He seemed impressed about Oliveira's performance. Oliveira's jiu-jitsu skills were intriguing to Joe. He points out how well Oliveira is on his feet, but when it comes to grappling and jiu-jitsu, Oliveira is just a beast, unstoppable. If you didn't know already, Charles Oliveira holds the world record for most submissions in the history of the UFC. That is an insane stat, considering all the competitors and great legends that have fought in the UFC. That alone proves that Oliveira's skills are something different. It is very likely that he can be the best fighter to ever step in the octagon. But before we get ahead of ourselves, we have to take into consideration all the legends that are deserving of that title. According to Joe Rogan, the first person that comes to mind is the man himself, Khabib Nurmagomedov. Everyone knows Khabib's strength and skill set is off the charts. The man is obviously a legend and arguably the greatest fighter in the UFC history. But statistics do say that Charles Oliveira is the man with the most submissions ever. It's interesting because obviously Charles Oliveira is a great jiu-jitsu artist, but Khabib's strong suit is grappling. Khabib is a grappling legend. It is true that most of Khabib's wins are from literally smashing his opponent. His first choice was never a submission. He always wanted to smash his opponents. Some wonder, is that why Charles Oliveira holds the record and not Khabib? Now, that would make sense if Oliveira's first move was to grapple his opponent, but I don't think that's entirely true. Charles Oliveira is great on his feet, just like Joe Rogan pointed out. But didn't Khabib retire? That's the confusing part about this whole situation. Khabib Nurmagomedov is a retired man. His last fight was against his greatest competitor, Justin Gaethje. So why would Oliveira fight Khabib and not Gaethje? Well, there are many ways this can go, but we must remember Oliveira has to agree to his next fight. And news was leaked that Charles Oliveira is not interested in fighting Justin Gaethje. People are wondering the reason behind Oliveira's choice. Why would he say he doesn't want to fight Justin Gaethje? Is he scared? Well, I personally don't think he's scared. I think he just wants a bigger check, and Justin Gaethje definitely won't sell as much as Khabib. This is how Joe Rogan came to this prediction, and I truly believe this is the way things will turn out. It's true that Khabib is a man of his word and probably doesn't have the interest of coming out of retirement, but the man is still young and has a lot of fight left in him. I feel like if the check is right, Khabib is very likely to be Oliveira's next opponent. Now this would be the fight of the century, and the big boss Dana White definitely knows, and I'm sure he's encouraging it if Joe Rogan is. What happens next? Well, in time we will know if the legend Khabib Nurmagomedov will be making his return to the UFC. After talking about Khabib vs. Oliveira, Joe Rogan gets into a conversation about Oliveira's last loss. If he's going to fight the undefeated eagle Khabib Nurmagomedov, we must do our research. I learned that Charles Oliveira's last loss was in 2017 against Paul Felder. Charles Oliveira was choked out and ended up tapping. He also had a few losses before that, which is not a good look, especially when fighting a guy like Khabib that has never lost. There's a serious possibility that if this fight goes through, Charles Oliveira will lose his title belt. Charles Oliveira represents the favelas of Brazil. He's from a poor town and grew up living a tough life. The UFC changed his life and made him one of the most successful men to ever come out of his town. His history is actually very interesting, and the way he grew up is much different from a lot of people. As a kid, he fell in love with the sport of soccer and wanted to be a professional player one day, until a nightmare appeared in his life. He became sick and it was hard for him to even walk properly or move his feet. At age 7, he was diagnosed with rheumatic fever, which is an inflammation disease, and worse than that, he had a heart murmur. While facing these challenges, he started to grow feeling better and was introduced to the art of jiu-jitsu. He lived in a poor neighborhood and had faced serious health challenges. The jiu-jitsu coach that lived near Oliveira seen him in the neighborhood one day and offered him free classes. Oliveira started to go to the gym every day and fell in love with the sport of jiu-jitsu. Some time later, Paulo, the coach that helped Oliveira, was caught in crossfire in the neighborhood and lost his life. Charles Oliveira and his family made money selling snacks to tourists so he can afford his jiu-jitsu lessons. After winning some tournaments, Charles Oliveira's talent was noticed and he became a huge part of the jiu-jitsu culture. Eventually, after winning some tournaments, Charles Oliveira's talent was noticed and he became a huge part of the jiu-jitsu culture. Oliveira is now the champion of the UFC and may be the best in the world. Oliveira is now a champion of the UFC and is the best in the world. His story has helped motivate many and continues to. His next fight will be interesting. Subscribe for more videos.